Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at the gold Mythic Sheila, who is going to be an advanced token wheel character coming to RTS. Now visually Sheila looks quite a bit different than the S-Class version we have previously seen in the game. She is looking a bit more scavenger-ish, whereas before she was kind of looking, I don't know, she kind of looked like she was just on a farm. I think she had like a farm tool as a weapon. I can't exactly remember, but she's looking kind of bling, honestly. She's got like brand new glasses, like in the helmet. She's got that widescreen TV, you know, priorities in the zombie apocalypse for sure. Makes sense. But yeah, she's geared up in terms of like all the good stuff. I think there's like more actual VCR or something like that in her bag, and some jewelry as well. On the left hand side we see her, kind of just giving us a little peek over those sunglasses with the little label on it. We also see the weapon that's in the battle pass right now, so it is obviously a little bit of a tease that the character was on the way, and it's on the way very, very soon. We see the butterflies as well. I think we might have seen the tattoos on the OG character. I can't honestly remember. But yeah, if we look at the stats at level 1,440, limit breakthrough, she has 27,066 attack, 27,066 defense, and 23,200 HP. She's a strong character. She's going to be a support role character, God Mythic of course, and she's going to be joining the Day 1 Allegiance. Now her stats are pretty balanced, so we're going to see how she's going to work out. Her rush is called Jeering Strike. Is a recharge rate of 66 AP, while on the attack team, deal 15% of this character's attack stat as damage to 5 enemies. Those enemies get taunt for 1 turn, while on the defense team, damage uses defense stat and those enemies get confused instead. This is kind of interesting, and both her attack and defense are the higher stat. It is worth noting that if you take a peek at her specialist skill, her defense and attack will consistently get raised during the fight as well, because she is going to be a aggro character, and that means she's just going to get stronger and stronger as the fight goes on, which is going to boost the power of this rush offensively because of the 15% of the attack, and defensively because of the 15% of the defense. It's interesting. I'm not really sure why it's 2 different controls. I guess it is quite nice though for a defense team, because there is quite a lot of taunt on defense teams. Confuse, it's quite heavy confuse as well. Coming out, yeah, pretty nice indeed. Well, we're going to test it on the attack. I don't think we need to test it on defense. It works exactly the same way, but it's just going to confuse instead of taunt. Okay, so here we are on attack, and just to note, this is just going to deal flat damage. There's no damage reduction from the defense team that can come in. It's going to just do flat damage, so it should be the same damage to every single character. Let's have a little look. Is it going to be the same damage to every single character? It is indeed. Flat damage. The higher her attack stat is, the higher that 15% of her attack stat is going to be, the higher the damage is going to be. You can also see all 5 characters are taunted, and this is where it can get quite interesting. It is only a 1-turn taunt, but everyone will attack Sheila, and look at the AP she's just gained for free. Now, one character did cleanse actually, because Angel will cleanse, so she'll gain potentially even more AP from doing this. This means she'll be able to do this every other turn on an attack team. Very, very powerful, for hard control. This will work exactly the same way on defense. Obviously, a little bit more powerful on defense when it comes to the control. But this way, she's not getting taunted, so I can see a bit more balance there, because if she was getting taunt attacked on a defense team, she could stack up that rush and get that rush off really quickly. So I think it is probably best the way it is, where it's taunt on attack and confuse on a defense, just for balance purposes. But confuse is no joke either. If the confuse lands on one of your heavy, powerful damage dealers on attack teams, they can just wreck one of your teammates. I have Raven do that on quite a regular basis, and she decaps as well, and that is not a fun experience, I'll tell you that. Now, if we look at the upgrades on the Adrenaline Rush here for Sheila, you can see a grade 2 gets an upgrade where on the attack team, those enemies get taunt for 1 turn. On the defense team, those enemies get confused for 1 turn. That's going to come in at grade 2, 1 copy required. Another upgrade that's going to be 1 copy is 5% damage on attack and defense team. So initially, I guess it's going to come in at 10% rather than it's going to be up to 15 because it's going to get boosted to 15 here. The AP cost will get reduced to 66 at limit break 1. So initially it might be a 75 AP cost rush. This is going to be problematic on a defense team. On an attack team, it will, still be slow, but you can kind of get around that with characters like Laura if you really intend to use her on an attack team. The last one is LB3, plus 3 targets on attack and defense team. This does mean initially it's going to be 2 targets that are going to be taunted on attack and 2 targets that are going to be confused on a defense team. The upgrades here are vital, honestly. This is seemingly, quite important. The rush is very powerful on defense, especially in terms of just control, and on attack, potentially from the actual damage it could, do. Remember, flat stats are going to be boosting her from 1535s, leader skills, so on and so forth, but so will buffs, and she's strong. So if you have her in a full strong team, and then you have someone like Dale in the team, he's going to give like, what is that, 75% attack boost? Huge amounts of attack potential. It's whether you're going to be speedy enough in that case, but the damage output from Sheila should be pretty decent. And like I said, the defense rating doesn't make any difference. It's just going to do flat rate damage, and that could be very, very problematic. Bonus HP, however, will be a nice shield for defense teams. Just something to note. Now next up we're going to look at Sheila's signature move, and it is called Final Sail. It is a turn 1 signature move with a cooldown of 2 turns. Number of uses unlimited. While on the attack team, deal 20% of this character's attack stat as damage to a line of enemies. While on the defense team, damage uses defense stat instead. So it's kind of just making it like a hybrid character, potentially a character that you could use on both teams and rely on just boosting the HP. If you boost the HP really high with mods and so on and so forth, you can just basically let the specialist skill boost the attack and defense. It's obviously up to you, and like the weapon, boost the attack and defense. This is actually pretty decent. 20% of the character's attack stat. 100k on attack team characters is not too much of a problem, so you can potentially just hit for 20k flat rate damage. Again, like I said, buffs can boost that even further. So yeah, not too bad. On a defense team, I think you can get like 55 to 60k defense in a good setup. Remember, she's strong. She can work in a team circuit, so it can go a little bit higher. So maybe even up to like 75,000. And that means you could potentially be doing 15k damage to characters that don't have that much, HP in that case. So, damage roll characters have like between 18 and 24k like max a lot of the time. So yeah, she could potentially do significant damage to those characters, if not finish them off or remove heavy chunks of bonus HP. So here we are on turn 1, and it's pretty straightforward. We'll do a line of enemies here, and it should hit them both for the same amount. As you can see, it was like 14,000 and change. And like I say, it doesn't matter about the defense rating. It'll do the same damage to both characters that it actually hits. The same way her rush worked that way. And this will periodically get stronger and stronger as the fight goes on, just because of her specialist skill. Now if we go into the upgrades on the signature move, you can see at grade 3 it gets -1 to cooldown, so it goes from a 3-turn cooldown down to a 2-turn cooldown. At grade 5 it gets -1 to starting cooldown, so it goes from a 2-turn starting cooldown down to a 1-turn starting cooldown. And at limit break 2, it gets plus 10% damage on attack and defense. So initially it is just 10% damage that it's going to deal with her attack stat on attack and defense stat on defense. Just doubling that damage up. Pretty decent. I think the majority of the upgrades required on this character is mainly affecting her rush. Grade 5 starting cooldown of turn 1 is great. Bit more useful on attack team when it comes to lower grade characters, generally speaking. However, if you do want to use this character in defense, higher grade as possible. As I said before, big thumbs up that it's using the same sort of like design for the rush, and the signature move makes building this character a lot nicer. And quite a unique character as well. Potentially some nice builds. Flat stat seems to be the way to go though. Definitely doesn't need any crits or crit multipliers or anything like that. And from what I saw, it didn't actually look like she was doing trait damage. So it might be worth doing defense versus at all times. And that's going to benefit you on defense teams and give you no negative on attack teams, because it doesn't make any difference for the damage she's doing. That is actually a pretty big thumbs up as well. Now before we move on to Sheila's mythic abilities, we are going to be doing some advanced token giveaways because Sheila is an advanced token character. Now, all you have to do to enter the giveaway in your chance to win 10,000 advanced tokens as the winner and 5,000 for 2 runners-up is type in the comments down below the word scavenge. It looks like Sheila's been out scavenging, so obviously we're going to use the word scavenge as the entry phrase. Use it as part of a sentence so your comment does not get spammed out by YouTube. Best of luck if you enter. Now back to the video. Now here are the mythic abilities of Sheila. These are her passives. Because she is a support character, she is going to get cunning. Now this isn't going to proc with her signature move or her rush. It isn't really giving her huge amounts of benefit. So far, I don't think any of them actually would. None of the rolls would actually boost any damage that she's going to do or anything. But I guess you could potentially see it as like if she's on defense and she gets attacked, she has a chance to stop things like double attack, you know, that sort of thing. That's the only potential that she even has to do anything with that passive for her role. So I guess out of all of them, as much as it isn't great, it is the only one that actually is going to do anything at all. And it's only going to really work on defense or when she does a basic attack on attack, which is, like I say, very rare. The next one is going to be daily deal. At the start of each wave, while on the attack team, 100% chance this character gets focus for 3 turns, while on the defense team, get elusive for 3 turns instead. This is kind of nice because obviously focus on attack is very beneficial. Confuse and taunt will no longer work. You can bypass human shields if you need to. It's a shame she hasn't really got anything on her kit to, like, you know, control someone off of that early turn if she does bypass those human shields. But it is what it is. Elusive on defense is very nice, where she'll basically not be able to give away AP on the damage that she does on her sig, or if you attack her either. And she could potentially have to be focused by 1 or 2 of your characters just to, like, steal that away. Make sure she's not, you know, just getting away with, you know, dealing huge amounts of damage and not giving out AP for it. The next one is called Wrong Isle. When being targeted by a signature move, 60% chance that enemy gets impaired for 2 turns. This is kind of interesting. That means that you're potentially going to have that rush that you're just about to get your AP for, but, you know, and it just gets wiped out. You can't do it for 2 turns. Not great. And the last one here is extra charge. 20% more attack and defense from aggro specialist skill activations. Now this is great. Per turn, aggro obviously triggers attack percentage buff and defense percentage buff. But now instead of it dealing whatever the flat rate was before, I think it was 30%. Now it's going to deal 50% buff every turn. And effectively after 3 turns, she would get the same amount of aggro buff that a normal aggro character would get after 5 turns. That's actually pretty nice. It's pretty nice for attack and defense. I would say particularly defense, just so you can get that defense rating rolling as quickly as possible. It should also proc off of turn 1, so that initial signature move you do, whether it be on attack team or defense team, is going to initially have that buff. Now do remember this procs at the end of someone's turn. We will check out the aggro wording exactly when we get to the specialist skill, but I'm pretty sure that the initial signature move you do, whether on attack or defense, should not get a proc of aggro, but everything afterwards will have procs of aggro. Okay, so we're going to attack here, and you can see that Sheila has got elusive because she's on a defense team. On the attack team you saw in previous clips she had focus, and that's because she was on an attack team. Now if I don't hit Sheila here, and we'll just do some basic attacks on this this side character, you'll see there will be a proc of her specialist skill come in, and she will get 50% attack and 50% defense. It will happen every single turn where she doesn't take damage. Stacks with each other. It lasts throughout the fight. Now if I was to do damage for a turn, we'll try and do some damage now. Also do some damage. It still remains at the 100% attack and 100% defense. But this turn, it's basically said to itself, hey, you know, I took damage. We're not going to stack up another stack this turn. It's only on turns where she doesn't take damage. Now, there is an axe out there for strong characters that has 60% chance to absolute defend. Potentially that could go in Sheila's hands and be very, very good. Just so that if anyone does decide to focus the character, they've got an even harder chance of actually landing attacks and just like slowing down that gain of the attack stat and the defense stat for this character. Obviously, it's a bigger problem for an attack team character, but attack team characters generally get dogpiled, and it's because of things like trait damage, that sort of thing. So if she isn't the character that is, you know, weak to the traits that are on the defense team, a lot of the time she could just be ignored. If her attack stat isn't crazy high as well, that can be the way it goes. If we look at the upgrade here, you can see at grade 1, she gets the first half of Daily Deal, where she's got a 50% chance that this character gets Focus on Attack for 3 turns or Elusive on Defense for 3 turns. At grade 2, she has the first half of Cunning, making it 15% less likely to trigger weapon effects and walker effects. Then we move on to grade 3, you can see that she gets the second half of Daily Deal, making a 100% chance she gets the Focus on Attack or Elusive on Defense. At grade 4, she gets the first half of Wrong Isle, where it's a 30% chance that the enemy gets impaired for 2 turns when they're targeted by a signature move. This is just going to be completely random, obviously. It will be the target that actually targets Sheila, so if someone does try and take her out, or you know, do any sort of damage, or you try and stack up early damage on Sheila and using a lot of actual SIGs that hit the target with damage, then potentially, you know, this character is going to impair you, make it so you can't use Adrenaline Rush. And attack teams, that's generally where the power is a lot of the time, Adrenaline Rushes. Then at grade 5, we have the first half of Extra Charge, where there's 10% more attack and defense from aggro specialist skill activations. We saw that in full, and like I say, I think that's actually pretty nice. Aggro can be really good in certain parts of the game, certain high-level PvE parts of the game. Remember, on most roadmaps, she's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. She's going to be like the ultimate auto character when it comes to those roadmaps, where you know you're going to eventually win. It's just, you know, you could just slot her in a team, make her like have a little bit of survivability, and she'll always get strong enough to win. If we move on to limit breaks, you can see she gets the second half of Cunning at LB1, making it 30% less likely to trigger enemy weapon effects and walker effects. At LB2, she gets the second half of Wrong Isle, making it a 60% chance total that an enemy gets impaired for 2 turns when they target Sheila with a signature move. And at LB3, it'll go up to 20% attack and defense from aggro specialist skill activations, bringing that aggro up to 50% per activation. And that is honestly just really, really powerful. I've tried to utilize Zachary's aggro a couple of times, and in certain game modes it can work, but he can get into a certain level of just like crazy amounts of damage. Obviously, she is just going to get there so much faster. Like I say, after 3 turns, it's going to be like a normal aggro character after 5. And then if you do your Adrenaline Rush on that turn, you're getting a 150% attack boost. And then again, like on top of the base attack, and that's 15% of that stat. Vice versa on defense team, it's 15% of defense. It's great, and it works into that kit again really well, because obviously you've got the signature move and the specialist skill basically doing both those stats requirement, and she's getting the boost of both those stats requirement. Her base HP also isn't crazy low, and like I said previously, you could just go all in on her HP on her mods, and then utilize HP and defense on a defense weapon, and attack and HP on an attack weapon. Obviously, completely up to you how you want to do it, but that could be the way. Now, the last part of Sheila's main kit is going to be the specialist skill, and we're just going to go over it just in case you don't remember how this works. Aggro, this character gets 30% attack and defense at the beginning of each turn if it was not directly targeted by a successful attack or ability in the previous turn. Bonuses given this way stack with each other, and other bonuses resets on a new wave of combat. So on an attack team, this would stack with Dale's buff, for instance, and they would also multiply together. You can get some crazy attack stats really early on in the fight as well, because obviously Dale's a flat 75. You can get 100% by turn 3, and then it's going to be 100% plus 75% plus another 75%. So you should be looking at around about a 250% attack buff in that case, and that's going to just boost that rush damage up nice and high. I like aggro quite a lot. We've only had a couple of characters that have had it. I always wanted a character that could just progressively get stronger and stronger and stronger. The extra activation like percentage is a nice little touch as well. Now when it comes to Sheila's weapon, she has got a default axe because her attached weapon, in the art at least, is in the battle pass. Now that weapon potentially could work for her. It isn't going to be fantastic, but it could work for her because I think it has attack and defense on it, and it also has Stonewall, so you could potentially use it on a defense team and utilize the Stonewall. I think the issue with that is you're having to swap out too many things. It would have been better if it just went one of the two ways. And I think, honestly, it should have been made more of an attack weapon. Because if anyone has it, most people are going to put the absolute defense weapon on this character just to protect that specialist skill a little bit more. Because if she absolute defends, it doesn't count as her being targeted by someone's attack, and she'll get a proc of aggro. Now, how I'd build these weapons are pretty simple, like I said before. On attack stat on the weapon. On defense and HP. Utilize the mods for the HP, and then just have the specialist skill boost the attack and defense as you need it, whether she's on an attack or defense team, just to get that attacks effectively higher and higher. The bonuses on a defense team actually increase her survivability at the same time. So this was Gold Mythic Sheila, and she does look really kind of cool, honestly. I kind of like these just out of the way kits. Hopefully they build on this and build some other characters that are kind of in the same vein. So you know, if people get used to this, it's nice that they just like kind of replicate certain parts of it because people are familiar. This isn't too hard to understand. It will, like I said, she will progressively get faster. I think most people would probably see her as more of a defense team character or a roadmap based character, or like both. I think she's maybe going to be a little bit slow for an attack team unless you get her working with Laura and get some of those heavy buffs in really, really early. You're going to have to get some attack buffs in for sure. And there are definitely some characters that can do that, like I said, Dale, so on and so forth. But she won't get any procs of her aggro until turn 2. So, you know, maybe not the greatest situation for you if you want to take out teams extremely quickly. But what are your thoughts on Gold Mythic Sheila? The kind of styling, the way they're building this character out. The fact that she works on both teams. If you are a bit more limited on the characters that you have on your roster, you could potentially pick up this character as a character that will work on attack and defense, which is actually kind of rare in the Mythic era. It was much more popular thing in the previous eras. There aren't too many, if any, characters that work on both teams other than perhaps like Vance. That's pretty much the only one I can truly think about right now. But like I say, any thoughts in the comments down below. Best of luck if you enter the giveaway, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.